Oh no!
Hello, Gamma Rays. This is Rumar from One Up Island. Going to give a quick impression of the new, well, no longer new, Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. It's a great beat 'em up in my opinion, and I'm going to give you a few reasons as to why. Well, to start off, the reason why this video took so long to come out is because a couple reasons. One was personal, I work and moving and all that, but the other reason is because there's a couple other bigger channels in which have uploaded this game too, in celebration of the new Ninja Turtle movie coming out, or came out, with Michael Bay. Anyway, without further ado, as we can begin, let's take a look at the game. The first thing we notice is the menus are pretty simplified, you know, foolproof, whatever, and the music is actually pretty good. It's a loop of part of TURTLE Power by Partners of Crime, so you get a little nod from back with the first movie. Going down, graphics is pretty good. They look great. This is how the Michael Bay's turtles should have looked, because they actually look more turtle as opposed to human, and overall are just not as ugly, or I don't know. Anyway, so let's see. Graphics are actually really good. The environment, the setting is pretty believable, of course. Oh, you would have to be. There's probably been a couple times when it comes down to the visual I've had an error here or there, but it's expected for seems more like an indie game, but I would say it's definitely worth the money in investing in this game. Let's say the turtles look great, the characters, like the human characters, look great. They have several different new characters made specifically for the game that was not in the comics, or old cartoon, new cartoon, and they do take elements from each, kind of balance it out. So I mean, it's pretty good. Sound, I haven't had any issue with the sound whatsoever. There was no delay, no feedback with blood. Of course there's dialogue looping, but that's to expect in even big games like Assassin's Creed. It gets really tiring, but in this game it's not really all that tiring at all. They kind of just respond to certain situations, like certain enemies come and get a certain amount of damage on them, and they'll say certain things, of course, as opposed to one or two lines being looped in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood as a prime example. Online gameplay is where I would constantly find myself going to. The main story is good. It's hard, I'll say that. It's really rewarding when you finally get through certain parts. Checkpoints are spread out pretty far, but not too far where it's impossible. With the gameplay, I could find myself, it gets kind of monotonous, what you would expect from a beat 'em up, but you do get to level up with experience and get nice weapon mods from Donatello through different menus. And the more you play, whether it's online or offline, you can keep accumulating these points and use them like payments. Make it a little more fun, get some variety. And once you can finish off an opponent you just knocked down, it's so much more satisfying. I'm going to say this game is quite enjoyable when it comes down to gameplay. Replayability is terrific. Online gameplay is definitely the better if you don't have friends local who would play the game with you. So that's another big one, that people are still online playing this game to this day. I don't really have a problem finding other people to play with. Let's take a look at the turtles. When you switch controls, you can play with whoever, whenever, during your gameplay, as long as nobody else is using them, by the use of the D-pad. Like, for example, Michelangelo's up. You know, I believe it's Donatello who's down, and then you get left or right to the other turtles, Leonardo and Raphael. Now, if you're playing with that character and you press that character's position on the D-pad, you immediately you get a little taunt or celebration. And if you're next to another turtle, one or more turtles, they do a designated celebration, like a high five among another, just with one other turtle, or maybe with another, like two of them. Sometimes they'll do a high five, they'll do a little dance, you know, they'll jump up and smack their back shells together, which is really good. I like that because it's a nice little touch of family, brothers, just kind of celebrating. And you can take the time and do it. There's one problem, is when someone initiates it, the other person is sucked into it, roped into it. It's not a timed D-pad press. You know, for example, I was playing online the other day, and by this one person just constantly button mashed the taunt, I couldn't get past. He just kept sucking me back in. I'm trying to jump or run away, but he just kept button mashing it. I couldn't move, so I'm constantly giving him high fives or shell smashing or something of the sort. So that got pretty tiring and grating. I would say that's one little it just kind of went past them, which is it's a minor problem, but it doesn't really ruin the game whatsoever. So it's easy to overlook as long as you're not sucked in with one of those players that just wants to troll everyone, give them a hard time. Hogging items, that's another thing, is that every turtle has their own items, and the items spread throughout, kind of like in the beat 'em up Turtles in Time, where you have to kind of let a person take it if they're low on health, like a pizza's healing items. Here you get different kinds of shurikens, like electrified or standard is pretty good still. You get soda to kind of get your energy back up so you can perform combos or supers, little special moves. And then there's they're spread out pretty thin, but if you know where to look, like, you got to go out of your way to find a lot of the items, which is understandable. You get a little reward, but there's always those people online who's gonna go running off and grabbing everything regardless of their health. Now, the pizza do not heal you right away. It's an item that you pick up, so you gotta go through your item list. Obviously each player gets it. You go through, tab it through with one of the shoulder buttons. I don't know if it's the same for the 360, but with the PlayStation 3, go through with the left shoulder buttons. One is to kind of cycle through, the other is to use it. And I found myself accidentally using the wrong item. Like, it can be quite sensitive, is what I'm saying. You kind of make sure you know what order each item goes through, because I've accidentally used a soda or a pizza when I didn't want to, when I'm trying to get to the shuriken. And you can hit your partners. I don't think it hurts them, but a shuriken will make them flinch, so you gotta be careful on that one too. There are team attacks. Let's say with the power-ups through leveling, Leonardo gets really good team power-up, like with team power-ups, and the more you invest your points in there, just remember, like, you've got to spread your points throughout each turtle. So if you're gonna main with one turtle, go ahead and use it on him, but keep in mind these points have to be distributed throughout each turtle if you want a well-balanced team. Like, if you get tired and bored of using the same turtle over and over and want to try someone else, at least you have more invested in them as well. You don't get, oh, well, you have 5 points per turtle. No, it doesn't work like that. Let's say, like, since Raphael's a heavy-duty grappler, he's close and personal like Zangief, you can invest more in him. If you're more of a powerhouse, definitely go with him. Obviously, Mikey is gonna be speed, all about speed and agility. So he gets his Kasarigama, like in the new 2012 Nickelodeon show. It's the weapon power-up you can get. There's two kinds. There's your personal stats getting boosted, and there's the weapon power-up that you can invest. Like, Raph gets he gets gauntlets, power gauntlets, whereas the Kusarigama gives Michelangelo more reach and a bit more combo to work with. And same can be said with Donatello, Leonardo. Leonardo's well balanced. Donatello is a little more reserved, but his moves flow really well. There is actually an arcade mode that you can find in the menu. It's quite addicting. It's just like the original Turtles arcade game, and with updated graphics, like Turtles in Time Reshelled. But again, it's quite loyal. It's not straight up just using the game and then just updating the graphics. It's actually this game just using old school beat 'em up. So it's no longer like a 3D roaming sort of point A to B, but instead it's a side-scrolling beat 'em up with this sort of setup. It's quite fun. It's hard. I'm gonna say that again. It's pretty hard. You gotta make sure you're going to counter, which you do have a button layout for attack and countering and all. Turtles are pretty loyal when they're represented. Like Raph will still insult the others. He's hot-headed and very impatient. Michelangelo tries to make the most fun of the combat situation. Like, doesn't matter who he's up against, he's gonna have a joke ready or something lame or pretty funny on the spot. And of course, the others will respond to him, which is good. I mean, they do not take it into a cutscene for it specifically. It doesn't interrupt, so make sure to get in the system, in the audio. Make sure you kind of try to balance it out so it does not, so the action doesn't flow over the voices. Leonardo, he's flat as a pancake. He still emotes to his brothers, comes off as annoyed by some remarks, but overall it leads the team, and that's what he's there for. I tend to pick him over the rest when playing online, even though I prefer to switch around often. I don't know why, I guess because he's well balanced, and of course with the power-ups, with the team, you're playing online with strangers. You don't know whether it's, of course there's friends you can invite and add into your friend list and all, but overall you're gonna find random strangers, and having a character that most people are probably not gonna grab, I usually find people immediately jumping to either Michelangelo or Raphael. Overall, Donatello is probably the least selected. I found a few Leonardo users, but most people immediately jump to Michelangelo or Raphael. You start off, when you're selecting online, you start off with random select. So be sure to select your specified turtle. It looks different, so by default it's going to be random. If you don't mind that, like me, that's fine, but I generally tend to turn to Leonardo when I have the choice. If you're jumping in another game, of course it's going to give you one of the turtles that it's not being selected. But when someone's jumping around often between characters, such as myself, just not online, when we have other people, when I find myself with one other person, I tend to jump around with. But when there's two other people, I'm not going to jump. I'm going to stick with one guy. You don't get much out of the foot soldiers. There's solder. What's more to expect? There are some character designs and some interactions, such as the foot soldier with the mouse or on his butt for humor. You get references throughout each series, which is really good. You gotta listen to the exchanges between each character to catch them, but it's far in between. But it's still pretty fun, including the vanilla ice dance, the shell slam attack, unlockable red headbands for all the turtles, classic mode, which makes the entire game grayscale and the greatest reference to Rob Paulson's turtle experience. Again, it depends on who you're going to play with online, and you're going to be able to customize your turtle, whether if you want him. There's two different branches with the power-ups throughout each level, so you can choose right there what you want. So anyway, overall, I'm going to say the game is a big recommendation to turtle fans specifically, but those that just like beat-em-ups entirely and online interaction, definitely go for it. I'd give it a 4 out of 5. Graphics, gritty, of course, trying to go for the realistic look. April gets her own little segment, but anyway, again, go for it. Definitely go for it.
What? That's it! We can track her steps!
We found her phone, Donnie.
Oh, you beautiful boot.
My son, the key is not the boot. The key is...